Well, hello and welcome back to the second video that I'm making for this YouTube channel. Some of you might have watched my first one. If you haven't, you can find it somewhere up here. And that was a video in which I worked on restoring, at least restoring or refinishing the wood of a 1930s German Genschau & Co. double-barrel shotgun. I've done a little bit of refinishing on gun stocks before, but this was a bigger project and an older project, but something that kind of inspired me to want to go on and do something else, find another project to do, another gun to work on, something that would challenge me a bit more, also so I'd have an opportunity to make another video. So I was looking around, and over the Christmas break, I made the first video was in the fall of 24. Over the Christmas break, I was home in Nova Scotia and did some driving around and went to a few gun stores and eventually found a really good one in the Chester area in Nova Scotia that had a lot of used guns at varying prices and various states of repair. And this one in particular caught my eye, so I drove down to look at it and ended up picking it up. And the reason I bought it was both because it needs enough work that I think it's a good challenge for me, but not so much work that I don't think it can be done. But also it's not really, I think, valuable enough of a gun that if I mess something up, it's going to be a great big loss. So I wasn't able to talk down the price at all. It was a consignment piece, but that's okay. But ended up getting something that I'm actually much happier with now than I was when I got it, having done a bit of research. But I got this Iver Johnson Champion single barrel break action 12 gauge. And what I've learned about it so far, I did a bit of reading when I got home about Iver Johnson, and the Coles Notes version is that he was a Scandinavian guy who came over to manufacture both guns and bicycles in the United States sometime in the sort of mid-19th century. The Iver Johnson Cycle and Gun Company it was called. Eventually they got out of the cycle part of the gun and cycle and started just producing firearms, and they were fairly common across North America, even in Europe and that sort of thing. You can find Iver Johnson branded guns, and they were one of these ones kind of like those you'd find in the old Sears catalogs where it would be the Iver Johnson gun, but it might be made by a company in Canada for Canadian distribution, or made in Germany for German distribution by another company. And so the company made shotguns and revolvers, and I think even rifles and that sort of thing up until maybe the 1960s. I think the company disappeared altogether a bit after that, but the last guns I think were 50s or 60s or something. But as I did a bit of research, I was trying to figure out what age this shotgun was. I had assumed it was probably around the age of the one I restored prior, the 1930s or so. One of the things that people will say about Iver Johnson is that however reliable a lot of their firearms were and their manufacturing, they weren't very good at keeping records about the matching serial numbers to dates. And so there was one gentleman, I guess, that whose work is posted online. He's passed away now, but managed to find a lot of his historical work that details what serial numbers match with what years. And what I found from looking at the serial number, which is located, well, the first of them is located on the bottom of the trigger guard, is that I thought it was going to be perhaps 1930s, but according to his research, a 4-digit serial number with no letters actually corresponds to guns made between 1909 and 1919. So possibly as early as 1909, possibly as late as 1919. So it makes it a considerably older gun than I had thought, and I don't think that's going to change much of what I do or how I handle it, but neat nonetheless that it's an older gun, well over 100 years old now at least. And so that's going to be a big part of why I was excited about it. This one in particular, you can perhaps see, or I'll get a close-up of it, the Champion sort of name inscribed on the side. And once I start to clean it, I've actually never taken it apart. I've taken the barrel and the foregrip off just for storage, but otherwise I've not taken it apart. I've been saving it for a video. What I can see when you look really, really closely at this sort of dirty metal on the side is I can see the words Canada and Montreal, and I can see what I think is the word Cobourg, Ontario. And so what I think might have happened was that this was one of the Iver Johnsons manufactured for the Canadian market in Cobourg, Ontario, where there was a very reputable and big Canadian gun manufacturer. I think Cooey was based out of Cobourg, and so Quite likely this was made in Canada by Cooey under the Ivor Johnson name, but has been around, at least in the Maritimes, for some time. I don't know exactly where it came from or what its provenance is here in the Maritimes. But one of the reasons I chose it was because looking through the bore and looking over the metal on the signs of it, there's really not any rust. There's no pitting. It's dirty. I think that can be cleaned up. It looks like it would be a good candidate to be reblued perhaps, but there's no real pitting. There's a bit of stuff in the bore that I'm not sure what it is yet. Until I actually run a bore snake and some solvent through it, I won't know whether it's pitting or just built up dirt and grime. But even if it is pitting, it's not that bad. So it caught my eye that the metal at least is all in really good shape. And at first glance, the wood had been really good as well and a worthy candidate of refinishing. Further, I looked at it though once I got it home. My work might be cut out for me. I'm not sure if this stock is even going to be salvageable. I really hope so. I had assumed wrongly when I bought it that, like my Genshau & Co gun from the 1930s, the stock was going to be screwed directly into the frame of the gun up here, rather than having a sort of bolt run through the whole of the stock, like I have a modern Mossberg 500, Lakefield Mossberg 500 that has the stock bolt. What I found out, or I haven't even taken the butt plate off, but what I've learned just from reading online is that this model of gun does indeed have a bolt that connects the frame to the stock through the stock itself. So that means that some of these big cracks and fissures that I found on the stock may be harder to repair. My hope had been just to sort of pin them, glue them, or epoxy them, seal them up and that sort of thing. But if there is actually a channel through here with the bolt, then it's going to make pinning them and that sort of thing a lot more difficult. And you can see too, I'll try and hold it up. You can see perhaps right about here, if I give it a bit of a twist, that crack opens. So it is a substantial crack, and there's a few more of them up here near the top of the stock, another small one on the back. And then on the foregrip, it was in pretty good condition, a few little cracks. The screws have actually come through from the other side. I'm not sure if that's from wear or if someone put different screws in it. But there's work to be done. But my hope is that you'll be able to join me on the journey of stripping this down, taking it apart, cleaning it, beginning to assess what actually needs to be done, and then doing it. And as I said, my hope is that it will be something that will give me an opportunity perhaps to blue the metal. It'll give me a chance to strip and refinish the wood, or if I can keep the finish, I really don't mind so much of the finish on the wood stock. But my guess is with all of these cracks and with the epoxy and glue that'll need to go into it, probably for the sake of consistency, stripping it down is going to be what's going to have to happen, unfortunately, because I do like the look of it. Otherwise, it's in good condition. I find that the hammer is, I think there's a lot of grime and everything in there. I find the hammer to be very, very tight. The lever here is very loose, so I'm not sure what's going on in there. It does open, it does close. It does, to the best of my knowledge, fire. I've dry fired it and watched the pin, and the pin, extrudes, points out, I guess, pokes out when the trigger's pulled. So I've not actually fired anything out of it. That will be a later thing, maybe just to try a snap cap or something. But at any rate, even if it just becomes a wall hanger, I think it's a worthy project, worthy of restoration and repair. Everything seems to be, as I said, in reasonably good condition. One of the things that I learned about off my last project that gave me the most hope, and hopefully you'll be able to hear it, is that in terms of being a gun that could potentially be used for hunting and that sort of thing, one of the tests someone said was you want to make sure that you hear that lovely ring from a barrel to make sure there's no damage or anything that's compromising it. And if I bang it against my workbench here a little bit, you'll probably hear this nice sort of resonant ringing from it. So that doesn't guarantee, of course, that there's no cracks or compromises about it. I will bring it to a gunsmith in Nova Scotia that I know who'll put a camera down and give it the okay. However, I think that ring alone means that you can pretty much trust that it's probably in good enough shape that it's worth the restoration and perhaps worth the firing. So I do look forward to all the videos that are to come, however long this takes. And I do invite you to join me on the journey of restoring this. And I'm more than happy to have anyone in the comments point out what I might be doing right, what I might be doing wrong, and asking questions along the way. Thank you.